You know what? You know what I was working on when I pulled that all-nighter?
Oh, what were you on?
Impulse response and like convolution
reverb.
Yeah.
How's that going? What are you using for that?
I was just testing out a few different VSTs to see, what would do the best job.
Right.
So I'm still trying to figure that out.
What did you land? Because there was two that I found. I'm curious. One was like just straight convolver or something like that. I can't remember what the name of it was now.
So maybe for the folks who don't know, the cool thing is that everybody here knows. I know Chana knows.
Who do I know?
Use that?
Which one?
Convolution.
Yeah, convolution reverb. Heck yeah, I use it on keyboards and anything I want to have like light, airy with a bunch of different reflections all around.
Yeah.
Right. I will use a EMT 140, EMT 140, EPT, ET 140 plate reverb for drums and percussion. And I will use a really, really short what the Lexicon 224 for short reverb for vocals. Unless they need to be like ethereal vocals, and then I'll pop in the convolution after a short reverb. So there's, you can double up on your reverbs.
So you're coming at it from like a production
creative standpoint. Yeah. So I know what all this stuff is. I've been knowing what all this stuff is for over a decade because I used it.
So for the
how it works,
don't know,
I don't really know how it works. I know what it does.
I'll get into that.
Okay.
So for the folks who don't know, I guess convolution convolution is basically taking two signals to create a third signal, something like that. I think mathematically speaking, I think that's what's happening. But yeah, it's kind of crazy the practical things you can do with it. So first, you need an impulse response, right? So impulse would be, imagine like a clap or, pretty much like a clap, right?
Some sort of like the initial sound, right?
Initial sound, theoretically, you'd want it to be instantaneous, right? An instant sound. And during that one instant, moment, you want all the frequencies played equally.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's hard to do. Your clap, I'm sure, is not perfectly... perfect frequency response, but you can do it digitally. So you can send out a signal that's an impulse response. Or what's kind of interesting is that REW, you do a sweep. Everybody knows the microphone sweep, whoop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love that sound.
That's sweeping all the frequencies, but then it can take all that and then combine it as if it was one instantaneous sound, right? And what you can do with that is kind of crazy. Is basically I would say you can recreate your room. Like you have a profile of your room with that impulse response. Is that about right? Am I saying anything incorrect, Erin?
I mean, I don't use it for that, but
okay,
I think so. Like, so what I've been using it for, and I haven't put any of this stuff out yet because I'm scared to.
You're scared to?
Yeah, no, I'll explain. Well, I'm scared that like it's kind of like when you tell somebody something, but you don't tell them the whole story, or like how things can be misconstrued,
sure.
Like misinterpreted. So I've just not gotten to the point where I feel comfortable enough with putting it out there. But so what I've been doing though is like with the Clipple, I can extract impulse response after it's done measuring all the points in space. It gives me the acoustic or the anechoic response, and I can extract the impulse response from that. Mm-hmm. So then in MATLAB, I wrote a script up to take a song, any song I feed it, and it'll convolve it with that speaker's impulse response. And the reason I did that is because I wanted a way for people to kind of have an idea of what a speaker is doing to the song, right? So the weird thing about it is you would have to play it back over your speakers, and you'd listen to the song as is first, and then you would listen to it convolved with the anechoic response. But the problem is that you don't hear just the anechoic response. So I'm scared that people are going to misinterpret the impulse response for representing what you could hear in your room. That's what
very interesting. Very interesting. So it's interesting because you're approaching it in a different way than how I'm approaching it.
Right.
How I'm utilizing it. But yeah, so exactly what you're saying. You can take a speaker, right, And well, let's see, let me just kind of explain how I'm using it. So I'm actually getting the response of my room, which means that I can apply that sound to a track and let people kind of compare the two, right? So I can say, here's just the response of the room, basically.
Right.
Right. And I'll apply that to a song. Now you can compare that to my recording of the speakers, and now you have something to reference.
Right.
Right. So if I'm letting you hear these speakers in my room, well, how do you know how that sound? What are you comparing it to? You can't compare it to just the recording because that's directly into your ear.
Right.
Mhm.
You'd have to compare how accurate is that compared to the recording and my room. So to me, that's like an ideal speaker where all it is the room interaction.
Right.
That's the only thing affecting the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's basically how I'm using it. But then I started thinking about other crazy things where, like, what if I could tell somebody, hey, you know what? Why don't you send me an impulse response? I'll teach you how to do it. It's not very hard to get an impulse
Yeah, with
response.
REW, it's pretty straightforward, I think. Yeah.
Very quick. Here, take an impulse response of your room, for your left speaker and your right speaker.
Right.
And then what would happen if we start combining that with your Clipple data, right? And then say, you know what? Here's an idea of how this will sound, in your room to a certain extent. There's going to be some reasons why that wouldn't work perfectly.
And those caveats are the hurdle that you got to clear, right? Like that's like I want to put that kind of stuff out there. So obviously we would be doing it differently. And I think me saying it is, as weird as it sounds, I think me describing what I'm doing is probably easier for people to understand than what you're doing. Because mine is like, hey, here's the speaker. This is the impulse response of the speaker. Now you play it back over your speaker. But with yours is like, okay, I'm getting the impulse response of my room, and it's a little bit more convoluted. No pun intended.
Convoluted. There you go.
Right, there you go. Yeah,
that makes sense. So
I've been holding on to that one.
The interesting thing, though, is what you're doing is that they've been doing that for music for a while, right? Like they'll have an amplifier that people love to use,
exactly,
right? Yeah. And then they'll simulate that amplifier sound, but they're using an electric guitar, and it sounds as if you're playing it through this amplifier. And
those little
speaker,
modeled,
right?
They do those modeled amps in like a bunch of different software,
all sorts of stuff. Yeah,
but it's very interesting the fact that you can actually extrapolate so much information with what just seems like if I played the WAV file right now, it's like that's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really cool. So the reason I was asking what software you used is because when I was talking to the guys at Clipple about it, they recommended that I try. He said this one, and I can't remember it's like Convolution XT or something. I was trying to find it online.
I have that one. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that was hard to use. Like I think it was that one. There was one of them that I was like, it felt like it should have been a lot simpler than it was, and I was like, is this thing even working? Like half the time I couldn't tell. Then I tried Foobar. I think was another one that I ran them through.
Yeah.
But honestly, man, and it's not like this is hard to do for anybody who's ever used MATLAB stuff. I pulled it up in MATLAB. It's got a built-in thing for it. So what's cool about it is I can just say, here's the song that I want you to play, and then convolve it with the IR, and now I can compare the song and the convolved version back to back, and you can get a quick idea of what the speaker is doing to the sound.
I'll tell you how amazed. This is why I stayed up all night doing this, right? And I hope this is interesting to some of you because we're just nerding out. If it's not, then I apologize. But it is what it is.
Somebody's gonna go to sleep, Joe.
That's okay. Go to sleep. So
well, they heard Oro last week, so the other guys can switch out.
So check it out. I have the speakers, and I have a measurement of certain speakers, right? And basically the measurement would be a near field, and I'm trying to reduce as much of the reflections as possible, right? I'm trying to get it as anechoic, of course I can, right? So I'll take that measurement, and basically what I'll do is I'll add the impulse response, right? I'll convolve that, and so it makes it sound like that speaker, that measurement is in my room, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what I can do is I can add that to the song, and then I can actually sit in my main listening position and then record the speakers with my binaural headphones and then compare the two. And then it's like, oh my God, like,
right.
that sounds the same. Like what I'm hearing, like a simulation of how it would sounds so close to the actual thing. That's what I was tripping out on.
And you know what's cool about that is that it's probably easier for you to do that too. You don't have to get stuff out every time you want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, hold on. No, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. I was thinking you would be recording the impulse response from one time, but you'd have to do it for every single speaker. That's right. Never mind. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm doing it different in that I'm trying to pretend I have an ideal speaker. I'm giving you a reference to an ideal, no effect from the speaker, just the room's effect.
I got you.
At my main listening position.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's all kinds of nutty stuff that I have to do to make that happen.
Yeah,
right?
I bet.
I have to actually take a response of a speaker, and then I have to actually apply all kinds of filters to make it perfect.
I got you. Okay.
And
So
I have an impulse response of an ideal perfect speaker.
And you can apply that every time then is kind of what you're thinking.
I can apply it to everything. And so I apply it to pink noise, which is kind of easy, right? You can kind of compare and see how things sound.
Right.
He's a little high strung. Who, me?
Oh, no. He's talking about somebody's going to call in later. Apparently you'd have to go back up.
Yeah. No, I'm just pumped because like, dude, like I thought it was so amazing. There was this one part where my microphone cut out. So I have this lav mic, right? And then I have this lav mic and the battery died on it, right? So I'm over here on this video. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. You don't know because you're just recording, right? And halfway through the thing, I have to use the mic audio, or the camera audio, right? So of course that sounds terrible because it sounds far away. But then I'm like, hey, let me test out this convolver thing and see if I can make the audio from my lav mic sound like the same as the audio that's coming from the thing far away, and it sounded very close.
That's cool.
So anyway, that's it. That's what I'm
cool
working on,
man.
Hopefully I can turn it into something that you guys can maybe use to, we're always trying to enhance these demos, right?
Right.
I joked with you earlier that you're laughing at my binaural demos.
Yeah, they're garbage, man.
Use of binaural, something like that. And now you're using some binaural stuff.
Well, and actually last week, I guess it was, I was looking into, God, I can't remember the name of it now, but Sean Olive had posted something from one of these companies that have like an Ambiosonics little microphone, and it's got Dante built into it now.
Ambisonic, yeah.
Yeah. And so like, it's really cool. It's $2,000. So I was like, but it's got, the software I think is what makes it, so you just let it record and then you can change it to whatever you want.
Yeah, and then you can but you have to, when you're listening back, you have to listen back on headphones through that software. So it's like because I know when last time I was at NAMM, I was talking to this guy Joe, who's a Grammy nominated mixing guy, just those dudes. And he was talking to me about it because I was asking him, how can I do like a proper audio demo of some speakers, and put it up on YouTube? He's like, oh, have you tried Ambisonic? And so he told me what it was about, and like Zoom actually has one. I think it's less, but it's not.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's garbage. That's the one. That's the one. When Joe and I were chatting earlier, he was giving me grief, and I mentioned I bought a Zoom one. It's like the H6 or the F6 or something 6, or maybe I don't remember now. And it's like $300, I think, and it's okay. But the real problem with it is the noise floor is really high, just so high, and it ruins it, man. Like the worst thing about listening to an audio system is listening to an audio system that has just constant noise. It's so annoying.
Like watching a movie at your house.
Yes, exactly. What are you trying to say, man? What are you trying to say?
You got to upgrade from that Pro Logic. On that note, thank you, Optimus, for the
come at me, bro.
Optimus, what's up, man?
Come at me, bro.
I'm just switching the subject real quick.
If you're interested in joining us in the after show, you can visit patreon.com/daily HiFi. We'd love to hang out with you and get to know you better. We're going to have a lot of fun.